I'm Coach Dave. Welcome back to Coach's Corner.
Come on.
All right, welcome to Coach's Corner. Coach Dave McDonough here today, and I have my friend, fellow trainee, business owner, Mercedes Singer from Solar Wellness in Brookfield. Welcome to Coach's Corner, Mercedes.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time, coming out to speak with us about your business, your training, and what you're doing out there in the recovery world out there. So why don't you kind of give us a background of what Solar Wellness is and what you provide right now?
So Solar Wellness is a wellness center located here in Brookfield, Connecticut. We pretty much focus on longevity recovery. Anybody that's dealing with any chronic issues or just wants to stay healthier for longer. We do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, vitamin infusions, vitamin injections, and functional medicine, as well as some aesthetic procedures as well.
So, the way Mercedes and I met, through boxing and combat sports, it's a great world out there of people that you meet and relationships that you build. And, Mercedes trains with us at Champs Boxing. Her and her daughter, Avery, are down there training, and she also trains at Glover Texera's with jiu-jitsu. So she's been training in combat sports for a while. And we kind of got to talking because Mercedes has helped not only a lot of our athletes, but myself also. And with what we do out there today as coaches, the recovery end of this sports is, and individuals, not just sport-related people. I don't want to keep it to that because it is a big part. So from a firsthand standpoint of working with Mercedes, myself physically, and with any of athletes that we have sent there, I think it's a game changer. And I think for people who are on the go athletes, the recovery end of it is a big part of it today. What are you seeing out there? Now, you're a little unique because you got the hyperbaric chamber. Tell us a little bit about that and how it plays into. Well, let's go like this. Let's back up here before we go into everything. How did you find yourself going into this wellness and recovery aspect business? Now, I know you work at the hospital. You're a nurse. What brought you to this?
It goes back 13 years. I've been an ER nurse for 13 years, and just seeing the same people come into the ER with a list of all these medications, having chronic issues, and just seeing that we're not really fixing them, just putting a Band-Aid on whatever issues they have and then sending them to a specialist. Just kind of seeing that cycle. I was like, there has to be another way that we can help heal their root cause or help them heal for real. And so after COVID, that kind of burnt me out a little bit, as it did to many.
Yeah, a lot of people suffered throughout that, many aspects.
During that time, I kind of focused on what am I good at and what can I do to help people heal. And I dove more into some vitamin infusions. Because of that, I started researching more of alternative therapies and regenerative therapies, and I found hyperbarics through my research. And there's not really a lot of places, at least here in Connecticut, where it's offered to people for them to come in and just treat them, or even if they don't have anything wrong with them, just for wellness purposes. There's not a lot of places like that here. In the hospital, we do hyperbarics for severe burns, gangrene, traumatic brain injuries. But what people don't know is at lower pressures, it still has healing properties. You just need more sessions of them. And so because I found hyperbarics, it was a huge investment. It's a huge machine.
Yeah.
It's a huge machine.
Yeah, and you talk about the chamber is, and look, from a coaching level, what she's talking about, this hyperbaric chamber, and they're at the elite level of training, you see facilities have a hyperbaric chamber or a high pressurized room where elite athletes can have access to this.
Yes.
And the one that Mercedes has over there, and I actually went in, and if you go on my Instagram, you'll see, and if you look at her Instagram also, some of the facilities have it. It's a smaller one. Yours is a more accommodating one. So, you know what? To go on, like she said about the investment, it is a very, very um, elite piece of equipment, I would say. It's not your everyday little
Yeah.
machine.
And most people don't know about it. They don't know that there's this treatment option that's available to them. So what it basically is, it's a large chamber, and in this chamber, increase the pressure. When your body is put under pressure like this, it's able to absorb oxygen. So in that chamber, you're wearing an oxygen mask and absorbing 100% oxygen. And then that oxygen is driven into the blood and carried anywhere in your body that needs healing. And so there's a lot of different kinds of hyperbaric chambers. There's zip up ones, there's hard chambers. We have a hard chamber, and it's used at different pressures, so I'm able to go up for higher settings. Different settings are used for different things. But yeah, there's a lot of athletes, pro athletes who have the money to invest in hyperbaric treatments, like LeBron James or Usain Bolt, Serena Williams. Aaron Rodgers was able to heal his Achilles at a super fast rate because he incorporated hyperbarics into his treatment. But because these pro athletes have, the best access to health, it doesn't mean that we can't offer that to athletes who are just starting out. So I wanted to have this space where not just pro athletes can have access to it, but everybody. And
I agree with you. I think today we see people, and I know you work out yourself, and when your time allots it because you're busy, you're also a mother, a wife, so you're a very busy individual, not only with your business, but in today's society, whether you're an athlete or your everyday person, our recovery is important out there today, and I think everybody's looking for an edge.
Yep.
Like medicine today there's many levels of medicine, and we'll get into that. But you know what? I think what you're saying is, yeah, you're treating stuff, but you're actually not treating it. You're just kind of band-aiding it and sending somebody on the way. So what is your evaluation? If somebody comes into you and says, Mercedes, I'm this, I'm that, how do you evaluate them, and what do you think, what areas other than the recovery do you see helpful with this hyperbaric chamber, as far as maybe sickness, disease, illness?
So the way I treat somebody, whether you're an athlete or just a regular Joe out there, you come in and I assess your body as a whole. So it's not just focused on what injuries you have. It's also focused on the medications you're taking, the supplements you're taking, what your nutrition's like, your lifestyle, your hormones. And that's what functional medicine is. You're kind of doing a whole picture and seeing what treatments could be beneficial to treat you as a person. Because, there's a lot of toxins right now in our food, in our air, everywhere. So if your body's not able to excrete these toxins, you're going to have a harder time performing at your highest level. And not just an athlete. If you're not able to think right, your whole day is going to be altered. So what I'm seeing works out best is not just the hyperbaric chamber, but incorporating different things, different modalities also in the treatment.
Yeah, so you use the word functional medicine. Okay, and we were talking about a little bit outside. Elaborate on that so that people understand, what functional medicine is, what you're looking at, and what you can assist in there.
So functional medicine is treating the root cause of something. So I'll give you an example. If your blood pressure is high, you go to a regular doctor, they'll put you on high blood pressure medication. We'll see you again in 3 months, right? functional medicine, you dive more into what are you eating? How are you sleeping? Like I said, how's your environment? How's your stress levels? Your mental health? It's just more of a clearer picture and more of investigational work that's being done. So your first assessment or your first visit with me is over an hour and a half long because we dive deep into what's going on with you. So I think that's the best way to go. Obviously, there's times where conventional medicine is still needed because you still need, antibiotics to treat some things. But with functional medicine, we want to treat things before
They happen.
they happen, but also before we just hand out medication. Medication has a ton of side effects, a ton of things that interact with other meds or other supplements. So if we're able to fix something before just going for some type of pharmaceutical, I feel like that's more healing, and that's more your body is just able to heal so much on its own if put in the right environment. And I strongly believe nutrition is medicine. So what you're putting into your body,
Yeah.
it's so important. And most people don't know your gut is huge. It's important. It's your second brain. You have thousands of neurons in your gut, and that affects your mood, not just like your metabolism or anything like that. So I think functional medicine is just life-changing for some people.
When you start this process, and it is a process, it's not a one shot and
No.
hey, here's your paperwork and you're out. What's the response you're seeing from people when they come into you? Are they coming in because other options didn't work for them?
Yes.
Are they coming in because they're open to what you're doing, or
So it's kind of there's a different spectrum. It's either people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired, who've gone to a lot of specialists and they don't get answers, or there's people that are healthy and they want to stay healthy. How can you optimize my health? And then there's people kind of in between. They're not really sure. And I'm here to help everybody. There's no one specific route that's best. It's really customized to the individual. And what people don't understand is, and it's the same with functional medicine and hyperbarics, it's not a quick fix. It takes time. It takes work. So just like going to the gym, right? You're not going to lift 200 pounds right at once. It takes time to build up to that.
right?
Just like when we started training. I mean, I'm still not that great, but I could barely do much the first session.
Yeah, you're a little hard on yourself, so we can't cut you as you do work hard and you come in there. I think you're just hard on yourself, but when you have to tell somebody that this is a process, yours is a little lengthier process in the sense of what do you see? Because obviously you're not going to see a result after the first, maybe the second, maybe the third session. Is that frustrating for people, or are they buying in, or
Some people do get frustrated, and I can't make promises if you're not putting in the work either. With hyperbarics, I'll give you an example. Some people need 20 sessions. Some people need 40 sessions. Other people will just need 4. It really depends on what they're coming in for. So what I've seen is if their condition is chronic, or it's been going on for a long time, it's going to take more time to heal your body. And it's an investment of their time. And so if they're willing to put in that work and come in for an hour, a few days a week, they're going to see those results. They're going to benefit from it. And if you're just going to come every now and then, you're not going to maximize from the treatments.
when do you feel as a professional you start to see results with it? If somebody's coming in on a regular basis, is it noticeable to you because you're monitoring them, or?
So for me, when I've seen, like I said, it really depends on the person and their condition. If somebody that's come in with a lot of pain, there's a lot of inflammation that's going on, usually I'm able to see a benefit after 1 or 2 sessions. I found more of a sweet spot, like 4 to 10 sessions, but it really depends on the individual because some people will see them sooner. If they see those results sooner, then they're most likely going to maximize after 10 and you'll keep getting better. But healing is not just a straight line. Healing is like this, and you'll have days where some days you'll feel worse, some days you'll feel better, because with hyperbarics, it's also getting rid of toxins in your body. So if your body's releasing a lot of toxins, you're not going to feel that great. But once you release them, you
once
feel
they're
better.
out, they become better. Interesting. So, with this hyperbarics and IV therapy and stuff, athletes, what are we seeing on an athletic end for a benefit? Do you think? Look, I know you've worked with my fighters. I'm a big advocate of it. Okay, you've worked with the hockey players, worked with Daniel Amesbury, some of the other guys from the Hat Tricks and some locals. I mean, personally, I think it's part of an athlete, whether you need it or not. I think you should be in. There's so much stuff over the counter for rehydration. I just don't think you could take enough in orally.
So the thing is, when you take something orally, it has to go into the stomach and your intestines, and you're not absorbing it 100%. With a vitamin infusion, it's going straight into your blood. You're absorbing 100% of whatever is going in. So I love working with athletes because they know their bodies better than anyone else. Okay, so I'm able to customize what they need or what they're looking for depending on where they're at in the season, if they have a fight coming up or if they're in camp or post a fight.
So when you say customize, what do you mean by customize, and how do you establish that yourself?
So customize as in what vitamins would they benefit specifically at this time. So what vitamins or minerals. So if they need like a boost of energy, or if they're struggling to recover, I know what to put in, what to mix, and it's kind of like a customized drip for them. You can't get that at the pharmacy because you go and get a little packet. It has a lot of stuff that you don't need, or there's also either too little or too much of a certain supplement, and there's no way of knowing that unless it's tested and unless you go with a reputable company that's producing it. Whereas you come to me, I get my stuff straight from a pharmacy. I'm a nurse. It's clean, you're not going to get an infection, as opposed to going somewhere else that's kind of sketchy. And there's a lot of other places that are sketchy. So.
Yeah, listen, I get it. You know what? And if you go to your facility, it's definitely clean and professional, and you bring a lot to the table with your professionalism and your experience. But, the market out there for recovery and replenish and infusion is so vast.
Yeah.
And, you walk into any CVS or, Walmart's, there's a whole aisle of, liquid IV, this, that, and the other thing. And, everybody's tapped into it.
Mm-hmm.
When you put this together, what do you see? Like, we talk about recovery and these athletes having to recover after strenuous, or anybody. How fast will we see results like this? If an athlete is drained, if he needs to be infused?
So it depends on what I'm infusing, right? So usually it's right away, but some people it takes a little bit longer. So like if they'll recover faster that day, because we're increasing the amount of fluid. You lose a lot of sweat while you're working out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're increasing that salt back into the cells. If there's a lot of vitamin C, that helps. That's a natural anti-inflammatory, so that's going to help decrease the inflammation. Magnesium for your muscles to help relax those muscles. So it's usually right away that I'm able to see the effects, if not the next day. And then if I'm doing something more for a energy boost or like to increase their endurance, then I use a different supplement like taurine or B12. And sometimes it depends on the person too. It can be the next day, it can be the same day, or it can be up to 3 days. Everybody's a little bit different.
What kind of program would you recommend for an elite athlete?
I would recommend, it depends on the athlete.
Okay.
Because it depends on, what you're doing constantly every day for training, what type of injuries are more common in the sport that you're doing. That way we can kind of focus on prevention, and also if you do get injured, how to recover from that injury.
Yeah, if you're taking an athlete, let's take a hockey player who's, using his body for more endurance, and we want to get preventive. Let's talk about preventive
All right.
at this point, not injury related. If you had an athlete come to you and say, Mercedes, look, this is what I do, how I'm training, high level, high intensity, day in, day out playing. I want to be a step ahead. How would you treat that?
So, after going through their medical history, whatever supplements they're taking, their medications, any surgeries that they've had in the past, I need a clear picture of their background first. I would recommend vitamin infusion just to boost their levels right away. That's customized to them specifically. And then
Do you cut the supplements out at that point with the infusion,
it depends
or do you keep
on
it?
what. It depends on what supplements they're taking, because too much of something is not good.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a balance, right? So the vitamins itself, they don't stay elevated in your blood forever. It's only 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes less. So you're able to get an infusion every month, every 2 weeks. It really depends on what it is. But then I would also recommend NAD. And NAD is a coenzyme that's found in every cell in your body. After you turn 20, those levels start to drop. And so there's a lot of different supplementation out there. You can take it in a pill, which, like I said, it's not absorbed all the way. You can have it in an injection form, which is my personal favorite. You can have it in an IV form, which the dose is higher, and then you don't have to get an injection as frequently. Or sublingual, so under the tongue, a spray, which is absorbed into the bloodstream as well. So I personally take NAD every day. It's great for athletic performance, for a brain boost, for your energy, your metabolism. It's anti-aging. So that's something that I incorporate on a daily basis and what I recommend to pretty much everybody.
And we see that, and look, I take it also because of you, and I totally agree with it. But now we're starting to see, more and more of this popping up across. Like, you go over social media, you're seeing, different places offering NAD, peptides, recovery, infusion. How do you cut through and find out what's real and what's not?
Research. I'm big on research. And once I've picked out what is kind of more of my interest, or what's giving the best effects, then I'll discuss it over with our medical director, and she's the smartest woman I know.
Right.
And together we just create the protocols we feel that fit best for our specific clients. And then everything I do, I test on myself first. So if it's not good enough for me, or if it's not good enough for my friends or family, I'm not going to offer it.
Do you see this as a form of, like where aspirins were the way of the past and stuff? Do you see this as a form of preventive medicine that people will be doing every day, whether with their children, as we get older as adults? Is this a form that we're going to see more and more?
Preventative, 100%. Preventative medicine, it's cheaper, to treat somebody that has less chronic conditions. So we're pretty much stopping a lot of things from developing. So there's a thing called epigenetics. Are you familiar with that at all?
No.
So epigenetics is you're born with certain genes that you've inherited from your parents, whether that's like cancer, Parkinson's, what have you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will develop these medical conditions in the future. Yes, your body might be predisposed to it. You have those DNA sequences that can have you
Right.
develop them. But depending on your environment or the food that you're eating or what you're doing on a daily basis, you have that power to prevent those genes from expressing in that specific way. And this is what I love about hyperbarics too. It's literally changing gene expression. So in 1 hour session, it's called your gene, like it's kind of like a power switch, right? So you're either stopping or starting some gene expressions, about 8,000 DNA genes, from developing or you know what I'm trying to
I
say?
know what you're saying.
So it's really more prevention that I do. I personally do hyperbarics because there is a lot of cancer in my family, and that's not something that I want in the
Yeah.
future. So I'm doing things more in a preventative way. And that's what I feel like it's best for me.
Now, from a firsthand, you're talking about the preventive and predisposition of your genes and the way is, that it might be in your DNA and the way you have it. With the hyperbaric, what do you think is realistic as far as let's talk about Parkinson's and diseases like that? Is it beneficial? Is it able to offset it, slow it down, prevent it? What do you think or is that more of a individual response to the treatment?
It's more of where you're at in your disease process. If you already have it or if you don't, right? Or if you haven't developed those symptoms yet. So the way it really works is there's stem cells in your body. You're constantly making these stem cells. People get stem cells infusions. With hyperbarics, you're increasing the amount of circulating stem cells by 8 times the amount of stem cells in your system. So if your body is able to regenerate on its own and kind of fix the neuroconnective neurons to help with Parkinson's, or if there's any pain that's associated with constantly having that stiffness or that twitching, to help your brain. It really depends on where you're at or the person as well. But for somebody like that's already had
Major symptoms,
it's going to take longer. But I've noticed from the types of patients that I've seen, a lot of them benefit mostly from a neurological standpoint. So there's not just Parkinson's, like Alzheimer's or people with MS.
Dementia.
Yeah. So there's also new studies being put out now about hyperbarics with veterans and PTSD. So I'm really happy that they're putting more money towards this research because this research is able to get the word out there and get people educated on all the benefits that hyperbaric has, because it's not just for one specific population. It can be for everybody. And by everybody, I mean kids too. Kids with autism, kids who have a concussion from falling off the playground. It's not really who is it for, but more of when is hyperbarics needed for you.
Yeah, I mean, what is the holdback that you think that this is not being put into effect as on a daily regimen throughout the medical field? Like, this is all of a sudden, like, if you look right over the last 10 years of all these places popping up, recovery, infusion, preventive medicine, functional medicine, whatever you want to call it, you start to see, why isn't this integrated in to daily medicine like a vitamin?
Because insurance doesn't cover preventative. So it comes down to money.
But they don't cover a pre-existing condition either.
Yeah, because so when you're treating wellness, anything in the wellness space, there's no really diagnostic code that you can bill an insurance. So everything most wellness centers do, including my own office, is self-pay. And most people are willing to pay that because they're tired of going to their regular doctor and not getting or not being listened to. And sometimes that's all somebody needs. They need somebody that will spend more than 15 minutes with them at a doctor's appointment and really see the whole picture and not just want to hand out pills. So it really has a lot to do with, I feel like, with the insurance companies. But also there's kind of this shift in healthcare where we are focusing more on prevention and what can we do to
Yeah.
stay healthy.
So you're speaking about that shift, okay? And, you know, are you seeing that shift in your generation, not just your experience as a professional? Are you seeing that with your peers and
Yes.
your family and your friends?
Yes, and I saw that a lot when I went to Longevity Fest, a conference that focuses on longevity in Vegas. So I saw people that think like me who are interested in wellness, but also they look great. They don't look their age because they have so much focus on their nutrition and what they're doing. And it was just really inspiring to see people like that. And not just in the United States, it was people from Costa Rica, people from Europe, Brazil. So it was nice meeting a lot of people who are also, or who feel it in their heart that this is the path that we're supposed to take and how to educate everybody in more of a preventative way to control your health.
So, you talk about people out of the country and preventative and everything else. And, look, here we have everything at a fingertip, right? You're hungry, you call Grubhub, they bring you whatever you want, right?
Yep.
You want a hamburger, you want an apple, whatever it is, right? I think, look, from being out of the country, the lifestyle is a lot different. The times that I have been out, I find in certain parts of South America, the food is better, the quality of food is better. There's less fast food, whereas you have families. Look, I was I've been in Colombia numerous times with fights and going into restaurants, and you actually see families with young children sitting in a restaurant.
Yeah.
A decent restaurant where you're going to eat, not at you don't see fast food on the corner everywhere. Fruit is accessible.
Yep. Cheaper.
More.
Yeah.
Cheaper, right? Than here, but also better quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a big part of longevity in some of these areas as opposed to here. I think here, look, we microwave stuff, and I never thought like this, but I try to avoid the microwave now. If I don't have to microwave something, I don't want it in the microwave.
Yeah.
We have it in plastic. I know sometimes we got to heat stuff up, but you don't think like that. And go back and look, I'm older. I go back to the roots. My grandparents had a garden,
Mm-hmm.
And we ate whatever. We didn't have. I can remember the first time it was late in my teens going to McDonald's because they were not around at that point. It wasn't and it was like a big treat to do it. Not that you did it like every day. There wasn't a McDonald's on every corner or stuff like that. But I mean, how do you deal with that as a professional now? You got people coming in, and I know you see all sorts of different types of people like that. And to be honest and to treat, how do you go about it, to educate people about, nutrition along with longevity and functional health?
Well, it really, you got to start with what you do on a daily. What's one thing we can fix? Because if you tell somebody to change all their supplements, change their whole diet, stop sugar, stop dairy, it's a lot for people. And if
you're setting them up for failure.
Exactly.
And I totally agree with you because look, I deal with people who want to come in, they want to lose weight, they want to get, whatever the case may be. Say, look, we got to go step by step here.
So it's one thing at a time. Let's take out one thing, or let's change one thing in your daily life where it could have a benefit. So like when I started everything, or my wellness journey, I got rid of plastic. That was my first thing. So everything plastic in my house, like containers, in the garbage. Because when you're heating up these plastics, like in your microwave, if that's seeping into your food, you're ingesting that food. And there's been studies now showing that you have plastic in your brain, you have plastic in your blood. So what do you do? And this is what's scary, because what do you do when you have a blood clot that's got plastic in there? And we're giving you medication to treat that blood clot, but it's not going to treat that plastic, the microplastics that are in your blood. So think about that. Okay, when you think about something like that, then you want to make these changes. So I took away plastic. I started to decrease the amount of sugar I consume, the amount of dairy I consume, and it really depends on the person too. You know, there has to be a balance, because if you're always eating healthy, which is great, but if occasionally you're not having like a piece of pie, or it's your birthday, you're not having cake, what joy is that?
No,
Yeah.
listen, everything, I agree. Everything, you know what? You can't be an extremist, okay?
Exactly.
You can't be going from one day saying, okay, you know, I'm having sugar in my coffee or my tea or my drinks, right? And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden going, no sugar, no this, no. You got to have moderation. And you got to be able to reward yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, at the end of the day, we all work hard and everything else, and, you know, within reason.
Yeah. But it's also, you think about these countries, which you mentioned, there's not a lot of autoimmune disorders or allergies in these countries, because the quality of food that they have is so much better. Their soil is so much better.
I'm gonna tap on that for a second, right? So, you know, again, being a little older, not much, but growing up in a different time, right? I said to somebody the other day, and they're like, you know, we're all worried about germs and immune systems and everything else, right? Growing up, yeah, we worried about germs, right?
Mhm.
You worried about, you know, if you sneeze, you know, whatever, you know, make sure you cover your nose and stuff like that, you know. But I said to somebody, you know, somebody said about, you know, being sick. I said, you know, knock on wood. I said, I ate a pound of dirt as a kid. Meaning, right? Meaning, right? This is the meaning of that, right? Is that we played outside.
Yeah.
My mother, okay, if you had your nice clothes on, she'd kill you, you know what I mean? But if you were on the playground or you were playing on the field, you got dirty. You fell.
Yeah.
You came home with dirt on you,
Yeah.
mud, whatever the case may be. Yeah, you washed up and you cleaned, but you were outside, whether it was cold, it was hot, it was raining. So you know what? Your body built up those immunities.
But you're also absorbing vitamin D from being outside, a lot of it. And kids these days, they're on their screens, they're playing video games. You know, we lack a lot of vitamin D, and magnesium in our country.
So now you tap on this, right? So magnesium has come back into a very, like, I read a lot of stuff now. A lot of these nutritionists, doctors, the push of magnesium in your body has become, and vitamin D
Mhm.
has become unbelievable now. Like
Mhm.
I read, you should have magnesium. It helps you sleep, recover.
And there's different types of magnesium too.
Yeah.
There's some magnesiums that's for your intestines. So you really should, talk to a medical professional and see which type of magnesium is the best, because it can treat different things.
Yeah. So if you were giving somebody a balance, right? Say somebody is not able to come in and get infused on a regular basis. All right. Somebody came to you and said, Mercedes, what kind of balance, what kind of supplemental would you say to be on a daily basis to maintain?
So it depends on the person again, because
If you took somebody you want to make preventive, somebody in relatively good health, you know, busy lifestyle, they want to be preventive, what would you recommend?
I would say magnesium, like I said, because it is one of the most common deficiencies that we have, magnesium glycinate specifically, vitamin D with K2, a B complex, some sort of B complex with some B12 in it, just to help a little bit of your energy as well. And if they want something to help with their brain function, or a little brain, just to help you think a little bit better, CoQ10 is good too. And then daily NAD plus. Those are It's personally what I take. But then it depends also on the season. If it's the winter time where your body needs more of an immunity boost, vitamin C is great to incorporate that on a daily. If you're having a little stressful time, ashwagandha is good. So it really depends on the person and what they're taking too.
Right.
But recommendations are more catered to that person and their medications, because supplements are also medications. They can counteract with different things. And some are taken better with food or with fats. So it really needs to be, it's like a prescription. Really
Yeah.
sit down, write down when's the best time for you to take something.
So let's tap off onto you for a second, because we're going to tap into your professionalism and everything else. You're a young mom today with young children. What are you guiding them and educating them without being that crazy person over the edge? Like you have knowledge, right? You have this knowledge, this medical knowledge, but you need to find a balance to apply it into your own. What are you looking at today as far as that, and incorporating it in with your children and your lifestyle?
So with kids, it's a little hard because kids really, if something doesn't taste good, they won't eat it, right? Or they learn by example. So if I'm eating healthy, they'll see, oh, is that healthy? Mommy, is this cookie healthy? No, it's not. Is this orange healthy? Yes. And then they'll eat it. So they always ask me kind of for my approval, but now that they know what's healthy and what's not, they know to make the right choices when I'm not there. When I'm there, I'm the one cooking, so they have no choice.
Yeah, you eat what's on your plate.
Yeah, exactly.
I know those days.
But also, they see that it's not just what we're eating, it's also what we're doing. So we go on family walks. If I'm working out, they'll work out with me. So they learn by example. I bring my daughter to the gym, to the boxing gym. She wouldn't train with anybody but you. After she saw me training for I don't know how long it took her.
And like the growth to watch Avery is, look, we've talked about this. She's very shy, and now to watch her really grow and come out of her shell and really express herself a little bit is really, it's pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah.
When you're watching her evolve now.
Well, she's just such a girly girl, and that's what I feel like representation is so important, because I've tried to put her in other sports and she really hasn't had an interest.
So you're a girly girl.
I am a girly girl.
You're a girly girl, but you know what? Let's talk about you for a second, okay? So, look, you train, okay? You box, you kickbox. You kickbox before you came to us.
Well, actually, I did taekwondo.
Taekwondo, that's right.
I'm a black belt.
You hold a black belt. That's
second
right.
Degree.
Second degree, right?
Watch out.
Yes, watch out. You're dangerous, right? But you know what? You're out there challenging you. And I've never asked you this. What led you to the combat sports?
So I had no choice. I was really forced into it because I come from all girls. I only have sisters, and my dad really didn't give me a choice. It's like, I'm putting you in this because I want you to learn how to defend yourself when I'm not there. You don't have any brothers. It might be just you someday. Yeah. And you got to use your body as a weapon. And so he put me in taekwondo when I was 9 years old, and I did it throughout my childhood up until I started college. And then life just started to get really busy, and I stopped training. When I started my business again, I met AJ at the gym, and he was like, why don't you just come, kick the bag.
Beat up the bag.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And then I met Ames. I infused Ames, and I was like, do you want to just train me? I've never done boxing before. It's so much different, just taekwondo with boxing. I felt like it was just a new thing. And when you're not great at something, you want to get better at it, right? So just learning about boxing was just really intriguing to me. But then it was mostly the mental aspect. So when I train with you, that 1 hour that I'm there, I don't worry about being a mom or my business or my laundry. It's just I'm there.
Yeah, well,
And
we talk about this too, right? And you know the journey I've been on over the last year, right? Health wise, and issues with my sciatica, my shoulders, and the journey to where I am today. You got to make yourself a priority.
yeah. But
We all do. We all fall. Listen, we all fall into it. Like you, life gets in the way,
Mhm.
and we forget about ourselves.
Yeah. But I felt like just I dedicate my Sundays, and it's not every Sunday, but most
Yeah.
Sundays, this is the day that I'm going to box. And it makes my whole week better. So thank you.
Well, listen, you don't have to thank me. I mean, look,
No,
you have helped.
honestly,
You have helped me in many ways, but you know what? You're wearing many hats, right? And this is what we talk about. Okay, I train a lot of variety of people, from people who want to compete, people like yourself who are professional people who just like to train, and like, you know what? There's an end to the means of why you're there.
Yeah.
There's an end to the means, right? And for that hour or whatever it is that you can feel better about yourself or challenge yourself or not feel better about yourself, because I know you've come in, some days you're tired, you're running around with your children, you're working, you're this, you're that. Life gets in the way type of thing, but you come and you train.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, man, I got through it today. I did it today. It didn't kick me down. But, for people, and we're talking for people out there, don't let her fool you. She is very competitive, and she does have a very good skill level. She's a little hard on herself, like I said earlier, but, she can move around and everything else. So, I think that aspect of you it's impressive how you balance all of that. So, like, you know what? We talk about fighters, how do they balance their life? But, you're a professional mom. How do you balance your life? Do you see yourself ever wanting to compete again?
No.
Really?
Because honestly,
And I know you're taking jujitsu now.
Oh my gosh, jujitsu, it's new to me. It's completely different
Yeah.
from boxing, completely different from taekwondo. And again, it's a challenge. And I feel like that's really what I like. I think it's the entrepreneur in me. Like, I like to build.
Do you
Right?
think it's the entrepreneur? I think it could be part of it, right? Sort of like myself, okay? If I can't walk the walk, I can't talk the talk, right? So, look, I don't know everything about what you do, but I do know it does benefit people. So if people I'm training come to me and say, well, what do you know about Infusion? Well, I took it. I did it myself. I
Yeah.
feel, what do you know about the hyperbaric chamber? Yeah, I like it. I felt it helped me. Did I do it a lot? No, but I think it's a good idea to try. So if, you're not challenging yourself, right? Now you got clients that come in and you say, they're athletes who are maybe hurt, and you can turn around and say, listen, I train. Oh, you train what? I train jujitsu. I train boxing. I have a black belt. I've been through
Yeah.
injuries. I've been through challenges.
Well, the thing is, for me, I'm no longer scared to try new things because I have hyperbarics as a safety net. So if I get injured, which I have, I go straight into that thing.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer scared. Like, I tried skiing for the first time, tumbled down the hill the whole time, but I was hurting the next day. Went into the chamber, it was fine. So I feel like I'm 33. I'm at that age where I know my body doesn't recover like it used to, but I'm not old. I can still do things.
Listen, I'm 62 years old, and I 100% agree with you. Look, age is just a number if you're taking care of yourself today, right?
Mhm.
33 is 23, 28, that range where we're taking care of ourselves a lot better. We're more active
Yep.
than our parents were. Well, at least my parents, the generations and my grandparents, they weren't active people. They worked.
Yeah.
Their activity maybe was working on the lawn, not going out for walks, not playing, golf, tennis, whatever it is that they're doing out there today.
But the big reason why I stay active is so I can be active with my kids.
See, you want to know something? That's also was my theory, because you know what? I was blessed. My dad was an active guy, and I was able, as we got older, he was a good athlete, so we were able to play basketball. against each other. You know what I mean? Compete against each other, and whether it's in the backyard, little family type things like that. But I think that's important that you could be active with your kids, that you can get up and you could throw, walk, run,
Yeah.
show them different different things. Then like try different things, like not be so sedentary in
Exactly. Yeah.
one thing. But I want to ask you one other question. When you started all this, how did you come about the hyperbaric chamber? Because and this is going back to earlier in the conversation. Once again, it's not something that, like Google it, you're going to probably not see many of them in our area.
Yep.
How did you come to, like, this is something I need to get? This is something I need to incorporate in my business.
So I wanted something that could benefit a wide variety of people, and something that was healing on its own. And so the more I researched, the more this specific treatment caught my eye. And like I said, there's not a lot of places that offer it. So it was scary, bringing on something. I don't know if it's going to do well.
And it's a big investment.
It's a big investment. But I trusted my gut. I've always trusted my gut, and it's never led me wrong. So I kind of winged it, and I decided this is what I'm going to invest my time and money into. And if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't have made
if you don't believe in it, you can't push it, you can't promote it the way you want, because now it's like, do you see people coming to you and are they skeptical? Are they receptive towards it at first, or what are you seeing there?
If somebody comes in from a referral,
right,
they're they've seen or they've heard from whoever referred them that it benefit them. I'm going to do this. They're all in. If it's somebody that's just Googling or has found me on Google, they're a little bit more skeptical. But then, I take the time to really educate everybody on the process, the way it is. They have an open communication with me during the whole time, after the procedure or after the treatment, because they're there. Like I said, some people are there for 20 sessions. So I get to see them almost every day. I get to know them. I can see it in the way they're expressing themselves, or in the way they're standing up, where their pain level's at. So I can see their change. Sometimes when you on your own, you don't really see a big difference, right? But
No.
when you see somebody else, they can catch things that you're not really paying attention to. So I feel like it really depends on the person, but yeah, it's been a great treatment option for a lot of people. I've helped people who have not been able to stand up straight. Like, I've had people that couldn't even walk normal or lift anything heavy, and after they're done with their treatment, they're able to stand up, go to the gym, walk like a normal person. That's been amazing. For me, seeing a change in your overall quality of life, that makes it worth it for me. I would offer if I had the money, I would offer this for free for everybody. But unfortunately, that's not how business works. But I believe in it so much that I would offer it for free. And I wish I could.
Yeah. I mean, look, I love the whole concept. I'm big on that. Let's go outside the box. Especially when it, not just for individuals, for athletes. I want that edge. I want my athlete to have an edge, whether it's, a recovery in a hyperbaric chamber, a high altitude. I told you about the trainer. He spent X amount of dollars, has a room with high altitude. So you can go in there and train like you're in the mountains, and, low oxygen level and everything like that. But, anything that's going to give you an edge. But now, looking at it as I've gotten older, what's going to keep me going? What's going to keep me being preventive? Because look, I want to be able to keep moving and keep training myself. So, I think, yeah, it's part of what's coming next. So, what do you see in the industry as the next step for you?
For me, I want to continue to grow and bring on board new treatments that we're not seeing again a lot here. So really, the West Coast, I feel like they're a little bit more ahead of the game when it comes to wellness. So I would love to get back out there and go to more conferences and learn because you absorb so much. You don't know what you don't know. And so
Right.
just to learn about new treatments and new infusions that are helping people with Alzheimer's, reducing their symptoms by like 70%, like to me, that's mind blowing. So if I'm able to research more and bring new treatment options for our community, then that would be amazing for me. I feel like it's my purpose to really help people and kind of open their eyes and see what alternative therapies
Yeah,
can do.
and listen, I agree, and on a personal level, for other reasons, which I'm not going to go into 'em, that have happened in my past, but we get stamped with, okay, you have cancer, you have this, you have that, you have dementia, you have Parkinson's, whatever it is, and that's it. They put you on a study, tell you whatever, and you just kind of sit there and wait. Like, I don't know. To me, I think there's got to be other alternatives out there to say, you know what? What's the worst that could happen to me? I get better
Yeah. But also, how can we prevent that from
or slow
happening?
it down.
Exactly.
Yes, or slow it
Yeah.
down. And I agree because you know what? Most people are getting more and more aware. Younger generation is like they're learning about their predisposition of, what their family is, whether it's cancer, heart disease, whatever it is.
And they're paying more attention to their food, the water they consume, the toxins in their environment. So I feel like more people are focusing on that and they're willing to learn and they're listening to podcasts and doing their own research. They're not just relying on what they're being told. So
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. One question, because I know we talked about this in the gym a little bit. Big evolution in peptides. Do you have a theory on that, or do you have something you feel about what that is? Is it a safe form? Is it a fad? Is it just another way to pump up the fitness industry for people, or is there a benefit health wise?
So peptides are not my specialty right now. I am getting my certification
Yeah,
in it, but I do believe in them.
yeah,
I've met a lot of athletes that have benefited from
yeah. And we
peptides.
have talked about that.
Yeah.
And I know you're working on that. But I'm reading more on it, but I just can't get a baseline if it's fact or fiction
Yeah, I feel like
yet.
it depends on the person too. If they're seeing a huge benefit from it, why not?
Yeah.
But it also has to be done safely because if you're just getting stuff, from God knows where, the
Well, that's
dosage
it.
isn't right,
Yeah.
and it's just it can have some negative effects on your body too. So it's if done right, I do believe in it. I'm all for it.
Very good. Very good. So before we kind of wrap this up, you know, very informative. I'm a big advocate of what you do. Not only for athletes, but for myself. So I can vouch from it from a personal level on that. But, I'm sure people come to you for advice and things. If you were to give someone advice, what would that advice be?
Advice on what? Health?
Health,
I
functional medicine, taking care of yourself. What would that advice be?
I would say really focus on your why. So why do you want to be healthy? Is it for you? Is it for your family? Is it if you have something that's driving you to be the better version of you, that's going to help you do things you don't want to do on a daily basis. If you don't want to go to the gym, you should still do it anyway. But if you don't have that drive, then you're not going to get there. So really focus on your why and be open to change, because it's not just a cookie cutter recipe for health. You have to be able to adapt and adjust and make tweaks here and there and listen to your body. You only
Yes.
get one body, so take care of it.
Yeah, that's good advice. So why don't you tell us where we could find you on social media? And, we know you're located, but pop out all your social media stuff. And
So you can find us on social media at Solo Wellness CT. And we're located in Brookfield, Connecticut. We're going to be offering some virtual health visits as well for anybody that's not close by and, wants to do a consult and see where I can help.
that's great. I mean, look, Solar Wellness, and she says Brookfield, Connecticut, just so you know, she's Federal Road up from Costco. So she is in the area. And as a coach, as an individual who I highly recommend at least speaking to Mercedes on some of these issues that we talked about today with your health. If not, you're just going to get educated a little bit more. If you're ailing, the hyperbaric chamber, although I haven't done it enough, I did feel good after the couple times I did jump in there, and obviously the infusions. But to me, this young woman is, she's strengthened. I have a special place because of her work ethic and all the hats she wears as a mom, a wife, and an entrepreneur. And she's going to do great things. And her passion and her heart is in what she does. So please give her a check out. Whether you're an athlete or an individual, you need to make a change. Make yourself a priority. Make yourself a priority this year. I can attest from it, and I'm starting to really feel good about
I'm so
myself.
proud of you.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about myself.
I
Thank
told you look younger.
I am younger.
You are.
I am younger.
Yeah.
Trust me. But, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. And, we're going to talk about doing some stuff maybe once a month where we could have a little maybe call in, question and answer type of thing and deal with certain health and longevity stuff that you can do to benefit yourself. But once again, this is Coach Dave McDonough from Coach's Corner. Train hard, train smart, and we'll see you in the next round.